This is the Musketeer Coaches Show, and it's right here on Fox Sports Radio 620 KMNS. Curtis Anderson with you, along with the head coach of the Sioux City Musketeers. That is Luke Strand. We talk Musketeer hockey for this hour. We'll talk all about the one game they played this last weekend, which is strange, but they got two coming up this week. They play Saturday and Sunday coming up this week. Sioux Falls this last Friday. Sioux Falls coming up on Saturday. And then Sunday at Omaha, a team they haven't played in quite some time. By the way, just real quick here, coming up on Saturday, they do have the lapdog races that are going to take place. And get your dog ready to roll across the ice. Brought to you by the Siouxland Humane Society. Also, they're going to celebrate the championship of the Sioux City Metro hockey team, their state title in hockey as well. That should be a lot of fun coming up on Saturday. Well, one game in the belt. Sioux City 47 games played total, 21-24-2. That is good for 48 points. The bad part about it is Lincoln keeps playing a lot of games and they keep winning games. There were 48 games played. They are 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. They have a winning streak of 7 straight in the win column. They're the hottest team right now in the USHL, which is tough, but hey, I guess you just do what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's put your head down and do your job and do your work and make those things count. And you know what? If Lincoln keeps winning, and all that's got to make us do is win, and just then you look at the next opponent.
You do look at the next opponent, which is going to be Sioux Falls, obviously. Yeah, that's looking up at the standings. They take the top 6. And what happens is first place and second place will get first-round byes. So 6 would play a best-of-3 series at number 3, and 5 would play a best-of-3 series at number 4. We've got a long ways to go before that. Sioux City still has 13 games remaining, and it's going to start coming up on Saturday again. Let's jump back, though, Coach. Sioux Falls, and they got you. It was a lopsided score at the end, but it seemed to me that you guys came out and played a very solid game right out of the gate. It just didn't go right.
As far as our manner of play and how that was, it was good. The fact that the way they scored, the score was not indicative of the game, and vice versa. I don't think we did enough to change the score, but at the same time, it wasn't that score either, except for the scoreboard.
Well, yeah, it was the scoreboard. You start off, and I think you had, you've talked about this before, of puck possession, and that's exactly what you had right out of the gate was puck possession, except a mistake and a 2-on-1.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of possessing is great. I do think we have to generate some more shots. We have to do some more things in those areas, but at the same time, stayed over pucks, got pucks back. We retrieved a ton of pucks on them. And then as the game went on there midway through the first, it is maybe, I like the D's trying to be aggressive and keep a puck in. I don't think we have a play to make there, so you got to put it below the goal line and basically start all over. Didn't happen that way. They come down on a 2-on-1 and score basically on their first chance of the game, which when you're giving up a first chance 10 minutes in, it's not the easiest on either part. Like, not the easiest on momentum and not the easiest on the goaltender. So that was disappointing. Then a mishap with the puck play in the next 5 minutes. There's a puck goes off our D skate right out to the slot and tap in, empty net.
Then it combines. You guys had a penalty kill that was great for 1 minute and 44 seconds, and they get one somehow in from the blue line.
Yeah, it's we just
with 16 seconds left in the period.
16 seconds left in the period.
That's the killer.
With really a harmless play that ended up going through Maddie's wickets there. So to get out of that period 0-3 is very disappointed that 4 chances and 3 goals.
Now, you look at it, and one thing I find every time I see Sioux Falls and what they do so well, those defensemen get pucks to the net, get pucks low. They find a way to get the pucks down deep. There's no block shots with them. They find their spaces.
Yeah, I mean, you see the power play goal there go in for them. They scored another goal off the blue line there that basically had some traffic, but St. Ivany squeezed one through there. So it is their MO. It went in there very noticeably being their MO. Sawyer scored. So you get 3D that score goals, and that's not a combination you want to put yourself into.
Push that aside. Go back to the drawing board. You play this team again.
Yep.
Yeah, you like the idea of playing them again real quick?
Oh, I do that part. I mean, there's lots of us in the room there, I think, to feel we obviously didn't take advantage of some things, but at the same time didn't do enough to make the advantage turn into our way. So to go right back common opponent is going to be a big thing. And, they played a 3-game weekend. They got a big win against us, a big win the next night, and then they lost to Lincoln on Sunday, unfortunately. But it's going to be our turn to take some ice back here and do some things. We had so much success against them early in the season. I know they've changed their team a little bit here, but we got to figure out a way to get the puck behind Burden and whoever the plays goal for them.
Well, exactly. And in second opportunities, does he not give up a lot of rebounds, or is he rebounding well?
I think he puts pucks in some pretty good areas there, and he's very athletic. So if he does have that blunder, he's pretty quick about getting across and making some maybe more dynamic side of things happen. But at the end of the day, like we put the puck to him over. Well, he touched the puck over 40 times that he played, stopped it, moved it. That's too much. You got to keep the puck. The kid's a very good puck handling goaltender, as good as there is or better in the league anywhere. So he scored a goal this year. I mean, there's some things there that, and he gave one up to us late in the game, but we finally did the things correctly towards that end of the game with it.
That's a subject I want to hit on, because it seems like this year goaltenders are protected more than they have been in quite some time.
Like bubble wrap.
Put a bubble on them, a little plastic. But yes, absolutely. And so it comes down to it. How do you attack a goaltender who's handling the puck like a defenseman? Because he can handle the puck like a defenseman.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to go close. You have to take away outlets, and then the pressuring player has to get under control and not put themselves in a vulnerable situation where you're going to end up in the box, or even let the ref have the idea that he can make a decision whether or not you do end up in the box. But we're at that point right now where when the goalie touches the puck, you have to continue to close, skate, put blade pressure on their stick blade, and then but at the same time definitely not touch them. That's for sure.
Touching them. It's a strange thing, this hockey thing sometimes. That has to be, you're going in kind of leery when you're going to attack the puck, which is great for a guy who likes to touch the puck more than forwards do in their goaltender. And nothing against him. He handles it well.
He does. We were probably extra leery with the suspension of Pawson just being probably on a little bit high guard, maybe too high a guard. And too respectful of the idea of what we had to do about it. So that's been addressed and continues to be addressed, and has been here for the last couple of days.
Well, one more thing now, out of the lineup, and obviously Martin Pospisil is out of the lineup for another 3 more games, and that hurts, obviously. But what's the scenario? What can you tell me about other guys? Nate Clerman, who was ill. What have you hounded anything more about Keegan Mantero? Aaron Grounds, obviously, and then additions as well.
Yeah, I mean, we had Clears missed that game there in Sioux Falls, strep throat, down and out. He's back practicing. I'd say he's looking right now. Today's practice was very good for him. I mean, it was back to normal a little bit of Nate what's there, which would be a good shot in the arm for us on the back end. Grounds, he returned from his family and their issue there with his grandfather and things. So he's back here and pretty, he's got some jump in his step after being away. And Keys is back home right now. He's on a visit back to Air Force where he's going to attend school, but 2, going back second opinion, making sure he's taken care of. And if he's going to have surgery, we just suggested to be back there with him having to go to basic training, everything else going on back there. You might as well keep a common surgeon in mind, and that could lead into the future, whatever he needs done.
It's a tough scenario for him at this time if it happens earlier, because, I mean, he's got to be healthy for basic training.
No, I mean, that's the kicker. I think his basic training is somewhere in June 19th or whatnot. So even to have the surgery done, if it is needed, it's got to be a pretty quick turnaround. And if it doesn't, that's awesome. I don't think that returns him to our lineup as far as play time and heel time. But I think, big picture, big goal is the dream of his is Air Force Academy, and basic training is part of that next step for what he's got to go through.
Good for him. That's awesome. I love it when we see these guys going into service academies and all that kind of good stuff. So he's got great dreams on that side as well.
Yeah, he'll serve us extremely well.
Two new guys in the lineup. Yep. They were competing strong for their high school team up in Minnesota, and one from Minnetonka, pretty good program, and one from Edina, pretty darn good program as well.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I think Sammy Walker back in the fall there, in the late summer was part of a acquired. We acquired him in the deal, so Sammy's going to join us. I know he plays 4 games there in the fall, but this I think is just a little more focused, a little more pointed, and he's got the high school thing behind him. Hats off to him. Part of what he wanted to go back for and to go after was Mr. Hockey, which is like the Hobie Baker or the Heisman Trophy or whatever you want to say of high school hockey of Minnesota, and he was the recipient of it. So that's a big congratulations on his end on that.
Was there a surprise that it seemed like he was favored?
Yeah, I think he was probably the favorite. There's always the idea that someone's going to have a good season, someone's going to have a blowout. I mean, you look, the Worth boy up in Duluth East had there's guys that had more goals. I don't know if there's anyone that impacted the game more than Sammy did. I mean, this first game of the state tournament, he has 1-4 and
5 points.
5 points in the first game of the state tournament. Unfortunately, they lose game 2 to Duluth East, and so that championship dream got squashed. I mean, they had done so well for themselves the year past, but and then on the other side, we bring in Bobby Brink, and Bobby Brink's he's only a sophomore. He's committed to the University of Denver. Big-time player, and just won a state championship there with Minnetonka. So Bobby's a very influential player as far as offense goes. He's taking a step further. He's coming down full-time. So that's what he wants to be as a player. I think that's a lot of kudos to be said about that. But his parents and the belief in the league and the belief in the idea that he's, maturity, he's got the schooling, the academics wrapped up, and he's doing that part. So I know last night we spoke with the University of Denver in depth about what was happening and how it was going down, and they were just excited to get here to practice because it is the jump and play is big, but at the same time, Bobby Brink sees the game very well. He's got big-time hockey IQ and sees the game with a great vision. He sees through layers of plays and layers of defenders and layers of his own team. So we're looking forward to that offensive stick to be available here.
What describe his play a little bit for us, because I think we had a chance to see some Sammy Walker at the very beginning,
Yep.
and that was a while ago, but we haven't seen really Bobby Brink and what he's going to bring to the table. What's his biggest asset? Sounds like his vision's the best.
Vision and hockey IQ. His brain works at a very high rate, so he can just break the game down. I think if you see vision and poise, you see a possible still type vision and poise, but at the same time a smaller stature of a player with the big time compete. Like, he's not afraid to stick his nose where it doesn't belong, and there's going to be there's going to be a pace difference. I mean, when he came to our 40-man camp, he made plays, he did his thing. The pace was a lot, and that for me is he's just continued to work on his strength, he's continuing to grow, and the future is a bright big time player for us.
People look for both of those guys in the lineup for Saturday?
They'll both play Saturday for sure.
Gotcha. Let's take a break. We'll come back. The Musketeer Coaches Show is right here at Bob Rose North End Zone on Fox Sports Radio 620 KMNS.
Aaron Stein Shop brings your
Musketeer Coaches Show is right here on Fox Sports Radio 620 KMS. Curtis Anderson with you, along with the head coach of the Sioux City Musketeers. That is Luke Strand. And the Musketeers will host Sioux Falls coming up on Saturday. It is St. Patty's Day, of course. Saturday beer prices are always good. You have the lapdog races, celebration with the Metros. So a nice day.
And dress in green. Away you go.
Dress in green. Are you going to put any green on? I mean, you should have green. It's the Musketeer colors, but I don't know if I've ever seen you in green.
I'll do some hunting.
Except for those silly little T-shirts that have your NFL team on them. Outside of that, whatever.
It's a disappointing day in Green Bay. It's a heartbreaker to see Jordy Nelson leave.
Yeah, because he is also a fan favorite, not only.
He is community rock star, just a community caregiver, community just patron, just had it from kid to grandparent to anything to any normal. He was the most normal person around Green Bay in the city of no problem.
Well, that's why I feel he can't be completely healthy.
Yeah, I don't know.
When you look at Sioux Falls from the beginning to now, obviously everyone has made changes. They've picked up, what do they call them, like Central Illinois West or something like that. But
something of that nature, yeah.
Cameron Burke, Griffin Lunn, Marco Reifenberger.
Yep.
3 added components. Which one's the toughest one, Griffin Lunn or Burke? Or
I got to tell you, I think that the Lund boy gives you a threat. I mean, he skates. He's got offensive skill. He's got his 10, 11 even strength goals. And
he's not on their power play.
He's not on their power play, but at the same time, they've had some power play success on that end. But what I think the other part it's done, it's just kind of slotted some of those players of theirs. It put Casera down. It put Reifenberger way down. You let the idea that, an Ehrenberg, sorry, not an Ehrenberg, I just got a text from Ehrenberg, but a Reifenberger is down for a bigger player. Dimoff's been good for them. Conley's been good for them.
Ivan Yazenkov has been red hot lately, too.
He's a beast.
With Walker and Panyakov there.
Yep. So I think it just kind of moved some guys around and allowed them to maybe play with some more depth in their front group. And selfishly, hopefully that's what we're doing here with our additions as well.
Yeah. And how long does it take, or do you already have projections on what your lines want to look like?
We're going to play tomorrow. It's been a long week. I mean, we beat the heck out of each other here for a couple of days on doing some things about what we wanted to do. So tomorrow will be a get up and go and kind of break up a weekday. And so I think we're going to have a chance to see the new bodies moving and doing some things that way, but giving us a taste of putting some things together. And the beauty of this time of year is you bring in some of your affiliates, you bring in some players that are potential draft pick kids, and you get pretty soon you got some numbers around here that you can do maybe some extensive things with.
Well, you have the numbers.
We do.
Yeah, and so we'll see how it works. I'm excited to see these new guys blending in with some great veterans. And I know you usually look at one game at a time, and the next game is Sioux Falls, but, I kind of know them in my sleep. Tell me about this Omaha club that you haven't seen. You only seen a couple of times. The last I remember was you outworked them and got a nice win. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, big picture, that's all the way back to New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
So, I think they've just been a pretty consistent team in what they've done. Their older players have definitely, the Randalls, the Cates, the Suchis have all contributed on that side of things. I think the
Price kid.
Price is a good player. Price is just, there again, like you start to, there's another 97 where you get some older players that are impacting their lineup. Their decor just got bigger and better, I think, for the most part, and then they've had some good goaltending between Purpura and Driscoll for sure.
Is it, because Driscoll has been under 2 about the whole year, and his save percentage is right up there. Do they have a very protecting D, or has he just been that good this year?
He's been good. I mean, he is good, but he's had a good year. But I think they're skating defensemen. You can do some things with them as far as keeping them away, but at the same time, I think a lot of their offense is basically concentrate on their front end. Those front end players are pretty high end guys, and
Gallant, Suchi, Randall, guys. O'Neill's got a nice season.
They're having really nice years up there. So. They're going to play a possession game, which they have been doing, and but at the same time, I think what we did against them on that 31st one, we smothered them. I mean, we didn't allow many. Well, we didn't allow. Well, I think we just allowed one odd man against, which was a huge factor, and then two, I think there just wasn't very many. We didn't let them out of their zone clean. We were tight. I thought we pressured well. We tracked well. We stripped a lot of pucks back and went back the other direction, which against an offensive group, it becomes pretty frustrating.
Oh, it has to be very frustrating. Is I'll play them at what they want to do with possession puck.
I mean, when those one puck and you've got it more than they do, pretty soon it becomes that frustrating game. And there's that factor of when you're doing those things, and if they do have a breakdown, they've had some goaltending there that's stopped the puck for them.
Now, they did pick up Savage.
Savage was part of a deadline deal and part of a three-way trade that got Savage there from Fargo, and they needed to. Just a long story short is the trade went through that was kind of sketchy. But that's all right.
It made it.
It made it through all the way from.
I was just surprised because I just saw him at
Omaha to Muskegon to Fargo.
And that's freeway. Oh, really? And that's a nice pickup, by the way. I like Savage.
I do too. I think Savage kind of found his way around there a little bit. I know it sounds like he was pretty disgruntled in Fargo. So for him to get back there and put some numbers up and do some things and jump right in.
There wasn't a lot of pickups and drops, I guess, in the long run. Because of 6 teams?
6 teams, I think there's that part. I think the other side of things is no one's sure as far as who returns, who doesn't return, because as that college train goes, you're seeing guys now are signing with pro teams in college, and then all of a sudden now they're going to grab in the next guy. So you can't really count on who you feel is going to return, because you'll know the return when you see the whites of their eyes here next year.
For 5 games at least, right?
Yeah.
How many? You got to get them under your belt for a little while.
Yeah, there's some. But I mean, that's as that all goes. I mean, the NHL signs a player earlier than maybe expected. College takes in a player maybe earlier than expected. We take in a player earlier than expected, and the merry-go-round kind of goes around right there.
Yeah, does that hurt development a lot?
It depends on if the players.
I mean, if they're ready, they're ready, right?
They're ready, and if the player's going to play when they get there, I think that's important. But at the same time, I think it depends on your laden of a team. Are you an old team, young team? Do you have time for development? Can you play a young player with an older player? Can you slot them in the lineup the right way and give them situations of minutes that are going to make their development continue?
Well, in the long run, if it looks like this, where healthy scratch to healthy scratch to healthy scratch all the way down, everyone's hurt.
Yeah, I mean that's it doesn't do a young player too much favor to come in and sit and watch. So there's a particular place about that, and I think you're going to see, you look at a Sioux Falls roster, for example, the number 98s that are on their team. They're going to be a pretty interrupted team a year from now, and there's going to be a lot of guys gone.
Kind of like Sioux City? Maybe not as bad.
No, yeah.
I mean,
from Sioux City from a year ago.
Yes, a year ago, yeah. How many players just changed?
Yeah, I mean,
it was 18 to 23, and the guys that were here didn't play in the playoffs at least.
I mean, the guys that you look at the impact that Furnace had over the last year and a half has been big. Keegan made some strides there at the end and played some down the stretch for them. Mikey Miller was a big, but he was an addition at the end of the year for them last year. So you look at Kep
was hurt,
Ronta hurt, guys that weren't really making. Matty Miller was out. Mm-hmm. So you're in that scenario. So hopefully that being said,
hopefully everyone has that same opportunity to see a big monster turnover like that.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great to return a bunch of players. You just never know, though, in this league.
Let's take a break. We'll come back. Musketeer Coaches Show is brought to you by Bob Rose North End Zone and Leeds on Fox Sports Radio 620, Camden, Sioux City.
From small towns to executive.
Musketeer Coaches Show is right here on Fox Sports Radio 620 KMNS. Curtis Anderson with you, along with the head coach of the Sioux City Musketeers and Luke Strand, as we are getting set for weekend hockey coming up on Saturday. The Musketeers home sweet home. They take on the Sioux Falls Stampede. Always that rivalry game with Sioux Falls, and then Sunday on the road, a 5 o'clock game at Omaha, and another rivalry game. I don't even know if it's a rivalry. You don't play them enough.
Yeah, that schedule matrix, I'm not sure how that all busted out and changed. I think they did a two. It's a distance traveled and distance of opponent traveled. So it ended up being like we almost were too close to play each other more than 4 times.
Doesn't make sense, but let's penalize the team. I don't think it's Sioux City's fault where they're located.
Yeah, and they probably have the same feeling, though, for a Lincoln or for a Tri. Even Tri probably has the same feeling for them. That's why we load up with Sioux Falls 8 times, or Fargo 8 times.
And Kearney 8 times.
And Kearney 8 times. So that ends up.
If you did it all 3s and 3s, I think it would sound like a pretty even Western Conference, wouldn't it? It sound like it, at least.
You can. That's somebody else's area, so hopefully we get to the bottom of what can happen on that side of things.
Yeah, well, I hate to sound sound like it makes sense or something like that, but it would even things out. I mean, sometimes, and I don't think it's that way in the West this year because I think everyone's really good, but it would make things even. Let's say a couple teams were having bad years or whatever the case is. I mean, because this year Des Moines is below you guys, and they're a good team.
The
West is tough.
Yep. I mean, the West has been good, and that's the thing. Like you give Lincoln all the credit in the world. They put their nose down, got some wins, strung some things together, and that's our job here for the last 13 is to put our nose down and do our job and not worry about what's left and right, what's front and behind. Just do your job, and if you climb and tackle over people, perfect. If you don't, then that's a bad story for us.
Well, and talk about what you said to the group between desperation, and it's not desperate, it's
urgent. I just think there's, at their age especially, but desperate for me feels like you're
doing things you're not supposed to be doing.
Yeah, like you're just getting out of your norm. I'm not saying comfortable, but I'm saying you feel like you're reaching for something or holding on to something, but yet losing grip. And urgent, just for me, is a way of seeing things. It's got to come quicker, it's got to come sooner, and it's got to happen now. And when you're in that now mode, but still under control, that's where we got to get to and play sharp hockey, but at the same time play a style of hockey that's going to put us in a situation where it counts.
Whenever I see it, and I think I've seen it in state basketball, I've seen it in all different sports, where when it's not panic, it's not desperate, it's not going for the long ball.
Yep.
It's going to play as hard as you can at what you do.
Yeah, desperate for me has a panic to it. Urgent has a swift action. At the same time, we got to get after that part, but you still need an earnest. You need a quality. You need those pieces all to be there at the same time. But this is it's a leadership stress right now. It's a stress on our group that was here, had success, and now it's time to recognize like success is not. You got to go earn, and you got to take the next step at a time. And when we keep putting ourselves in the spot here, these wins become crucial. And every home game, which is nice to have one, is going to be a big game for us.
Musketeer Coaches Show here on Fox Sports Radio 620 KMNS. Speaking with Luke Strand, the head coach of the Musketeers, as they gear up for the weekend, Saturday, Sunday this week. You guys are 4-6 in your last 10 games. What has to change to get it to 6-4 or 7-3 or et cetera, et cetera? What do you see as, because for a while there you were red hot. What were you doing so well then that maybe you're not doing now?
I thought we were timely. I thought that was a big piece of what we did. We scored timely goals. I thought we played from the front. I thought Matty Jurczyk and Kros were dynamite for us, which was a huge part. But some of that is got to do with, like, if I'm a checker, then I'm checking, and I'm going to block that shot. And if I'm a scorer, then I'm a scorer, and it's going to be a timely goal. We need to increase on those side of things as an individual, but at the same time in our team philosophy and team setting, Our special teams we got to sharpen that thing up. I do think we're going to get some help here on the power play with Walker and Brink. They're both time and space oriented players that have skill on those sides of things. And now our penalty kill is just going to be a big part, but the penalty kill is your best killer is your goalie. We're just going to have to ramp that part up.
Best everybody is blocking shots, whatever the case is. It's not like you were on the penalty kill much this last time, but everything went well except for the last couple seconds. And I could say that a lot of times, especially early on, when you killed perfectly for the minute 40.
Yep.
And then something happened.
Yeah, that's part of it. You gotta,
clearing pucks. All those
you got to
things.
grit your teeth. I would say we're being less mistake prone right now on that side of things, I think. But at the same time, it doesn't take much for a puck to go in, and that's where it's got to change a little bit for us. Is that a stick block, a body block? Is that an exit that needed to happen? And at the same time, as simple as a face-off one, can you win a face-off in your own zone that sends it down and kills off 18 seconds on itself?
Well, we'll find out. Win a face-off. How is your? It seems like you're much better at this time than you were at the beginning of the year. Because I know you had some struggle on face-off.
We did, and I think one is Poss is very good at face-offs. He's been dynamite for us. I think Fordo has really increased our face-off load as well on those two sides of things. It's weird. Like Cole Koepke, when he steps in and plays center, he's done a good job at face-offs. And
what makes a good face-off guy?
Hand-eye coordination. I think there's a timing. I think there's also a strategy. Like, is this guy a forehand winner? Is he a first? Is he a sweeper?
Knowing your opponent?
You got to know your opponent, but at the same time, you got to know the dot itself. You don't have to win the whole dot. You have to win the middle of the dot, and that for me there's an attitude when you step over your face over a dot.
Well, the other side is not giving up. You can lose a face-off, but you can't give up a clean face-off.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays it's weird because you used to be able to tie and kick, and you can't use your feet, you can't use your hands on a face-off anymore.
If you do it twice, is it a minor?
Twice is a minor penalty.
Okay. What do they call it? Delay a game?
Yeah, in the same setting, the same face-off setting. So if it is used that way, you have to. It's just a whistle and a forfeiture of that center.
It's got to be hard when you're tangled up and you got a skate blade that could easily nudge that baby.
It takes some time, but at the same time, everyone's on the same page with it. It's fair for each. So, but that face-off is a mentality, and at the end of the day, here we were playing we were playing a very boring game almost, and the idea that we were timely, played from the front. Suffocating, but that playing from the front has a lot to do with it, and that's something we got to get back to here.
We'll find out coming up on Saturday, Sunday. It is Sioux Falls in town on Saturday. Again, lapdog races, St. Patty's Day, celebrating the Metros, all that fun stuff. Sunday on the road, down to Ralston, taking on the Omaha Lancers. It's a 5 o'clock, right?
5 o'clock, 5:05.
5:05 game. We'll have coverage on that and on the hockey TV and all that, everything in between. And I'm excited. We'll see what this little new twist looks like.
Yeah, the new twist should bring some energy. It already has for sure. And now maybe there's some guys a little more urgent for their jobs themselves.
Perfect. Best of luck, Coach.
Thank you.
Luke Strand is the head coach of the Sioux City Musketeers. Again, Saturday and Sunday this week. No Friday games. So there you have it. That's going to do it for the Musketeer Coaches Show, and it's right here at Bob Rose North End Zone. So stop on by. Always great food and everything in between. It is your sports show coverage, and it's right here on Fox Sports Radio 620, KMNS, Sioux City.